The market for Tyler Linderbaum is quickly emerging, and that could spell trouble for the Baltimore Ravens.
You are Locked On Ravens, your daily Baltimore Ravens podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Ravens. Welcome into the show. I'm your host, Kevin Oestreicher of Ravens Wire, here with you on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And now the #1 sports podcast network. Appreciate everybody for being here on this Locked On Ravens PM edition of the episode, because we have, again, 5 days a week plus more of daily Ravens coverage for you here twice per day. In the morning, obviously, with our regularly scheduled programming. And then in the evening with Locked On Ravens PM. Morning shows at 6 a.m. and Locked On Ravens PM is at 6 p.m. So thanks to all the everydayers, the first-time listeners. If you're somewhere in the middle, thank you as well. And we have a ton to dive into on today's episode of the show, as we're going to be getting into the Tyler Linderbaum market emerging here. And it's developed pretty quickly, and there are some teams that everybody's had linked for a while, but this thing has taken on a life of its own. So we're going to dive into that in the first part of the show and what it means for the Ravens. Then a new wide receiver option for the Ravens becomes available. We'll talk about if he makes sense for the Ravens to take a look at, or if they should go in another direction. So let's talk about Tyler Linderbaum to start this thing off. I think for me, the Linderbaum situation is taking on a life of its own. I've said that a lot. And every day seems to be another storyline. And there have been a lot of different things that people have talked about with Tyler Linderbaum. Should the Ravens bring him back? Should they not? What's the contract situation like? Well, if he does hit the open market, as I've stated, I think he's as good as gone. And there are a lot of teams that this is quickly developing a market. Like Linderbaum quickly has a ton of suitors and teams that have been linked. There have only been one or two, I guess, that have been formally linked, but you can tell that, like, there are a lot of teams that are gearing up, at least I'd assume, gearing up for Tyler Linderbaum's services. And so just looking at the cap situations for a lot of these teams, just going through the teams that have the most cap space heading into free agency next week. The Chargers are at #1. The Chargers have very bad interior O-line issues, and that's a team that I think could use a Linderbaum. And there have been a lot of people saying, oh, hey, that makes a lot of sense for the Chargers and Linderbaum. So they have a ton of money to throw at Tyler Linderbaum. This is all coming from Spotrac, and the Chargers have $99.5 million in cap space. Next up is the Titans. They have $90 million in cap space. The Titans cut their center in Lloyd Cushenberry. Maybe a move to gear up to go throw a whole lot of money at Tyler Linderbaum and say, hey, we have this role available for you. Come help Cam Ward out. That's #2. Tennessee has $90 million. #3 is Washington. The Commanders just cut their center and Tyler Biadasz. Maybe they're doing the same thing and saying, hey, come protect Jaden Daniels over in Washington. You don't got to go far, right? So that's another one. #4 is the Raiders. The Raiders have been formally linked to Linderbaum by a couple of people, and Clint Kubiak's comments we've talked about in terms of what he is looking for out of his offense and offensive line in particular. So they're #4. The Commanders, by the way, have $86 million. The Raiders have $85.7 million in cap space. Then you kind of go down the list a little bit. The top 4 to me make a lot of sense for Tyler Linderbaum. Then you have other options as well that could potentially be looking. Obviously, teams have linked the Giants because of John Harbaugh. They don't have a ton. They actually have less money than the Ravens do. The Giants have $13 million in cap space. The Ravens have about $20 million to spend right now. People potentially think that other teams as well, like Chicago, who just lost their center to retirement, they have only $1 million in cap space. But of course, there are going to be a lot of cap maneuvers from these teams to get as much cap space as they can. We've started to see those moves happen, but there's still a flurry, a long way to go before all of those do happen. So Linderbaum is going to be a coveted free agent, but it is telling to me that the top 4 options in terms of cap space, and they can throw. If Linderbaum says, hey, I want $25 million, those are the teams that can say, all right, we can offer you that and come protect our rookie quarterbacks, or in the Chargers case, Justin Herbert, a rookie contract quarterbacks, right? Obviously, Cam Ward, Jaden Daniels, those are not rookies, but they're on rookie contracts. And so we had that conversation when Lamar was on his rookie contract. How do you put a team around Lamar with Lamar on his rookie deal? And I don't think the Ravens did a phenomenal job at that, particularly at the wide receiver spot. But, you know, at the end of the day, like, what is going to help your rookie contract quarterback out? It's a center. And I could see him going to any of those 4 teams, the Giants, the Bears, Cleveland potentially, right? Cleveland is negative 25 in cap space. They can free up some stuff, but I'm not sure how that's going to go. But there are other teams who also, like the Bills. Connor McGovern is a free agent. And while they don't have a ton of cap space, like there is a need. And by the way, when a player like Tyler Linderbaum hits the market, there are a lot of teams that will say, we're going to make a spot for you, right? We're going to make a spot. And that's kind of maybe potentially what some of these teams like Tennessee and Washington have done. Now, if the Ravens do lose Linderbaum, there are options because of that, like Biotish from the Commanders and Cushenberry from Tennessee. I mentioned McGovern. There's Potrich from Cleveland and a couple of Carolina guys. Like there are options. You could also go in the draft. But as I've said, if that market, if Linderbaum hits the market, like the Ravens could say, all right, we're going to try to keep you. But isn't that what they've been doing the whole time? Like, I feel like there is a non-formal deadline here for the Ravens to where like, hey, if you can't get something done before all the competition comes in and tries to offer him a contract, I have a lot of doubts that they're going to be able to kind of stave off all these teams unless all these teams just like, if Linderbaum goes out there, tests the market and is like, oh, I don't like that situation or I don't like this. And then he says, okay, Baltimore's my best shot. Maybe that's the only chance that the Ravens have at keeping Linderbaum if he does, in fact, hit the open market. So a lot of teams with a lot of cap space, that market for Linderbaum with all the reports of how much money he wants and the teams that have center openings. Man, I don't want to think about Linderbaum not in Baltimore, but over the last couple of weeks, it has become a very realistic possibility, which would then leave the Ravens to rebuild the entire interior of their offensive line. Coming up in the second part of the show, we'll dive into a new wide receiver option for the Ravens becoming available. We'll talk about what it would mean for the Ravens if they brought him in or if they should go somewhere else. So stay tuned, plenty coming up on the show. This episode is sponsored by Betterhelp. March is the time to celebrate women, especially around International Women's Day, and to recognize just how much they carry at work and relationships and families and in all the unseen roles they step into every single day. It's easy to celebrate that strength, but it's just as important to make space for their emotional well-being. And honestly, that goes for all of us. And for me, my mom has been my rock throughout my entire life. And I think about my mom and how much she cares without always saying so. And it makes me think how many of us are doing the same thing. The roles we play, the expectations we carry, the pressure we don't always talk about. Therapy can help with all of that, creating balance, setting healthy boundaries, and supporting your overall well-being. With over 30,000 licensed therapists and more than 6 million people served worldwide, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform, and it works. Fill out a short questionnaire, get matched with a licensed therapist, and if it's not the right fit, switch at any time. Your emotional well-being matters. Find support and feel lighter in therapy. Sign up and get 10% off at betterhelp.com/lockedon. That's betterhelp.com/lockedon.
Hey, it's Matt Derry from the Locked On Lions podcast. The people I love depend on me. If I'm gone, the financial responsibilities don't disappear. I didn't want my family figuring things out during the hardest moment of their lives. That's why I knew only one place to go. I chose life insurance through my friends at Ethos. Ethos makes getting life insurance fast and easy, 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. There's no medical exam. You just answer a few simple health questions. You can get up to $3 million in coverage. Some policies are as low as $30 a month. I love the folks at Ethos. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos now by going to ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. In as little as 10 minutes, you can get the free quote and up to $3 million in coverage at ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. That is ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. Ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. Application times and rates may vary.
Moving along on Locked On Ravens, Kevin Oestreicher still here with you on this Wednesday PM edition of the show. Thanks so much for being here, making Locked On Ravens a part of your day and your first listen each and every single day. Again, we are twice per day on Locked On Ravens, 6 a.m. Eastern time in the mornings and 6 p.m. Eastern time in the evenings. And that's on top of everything else to give you, like bonus episodes, instant reactions, watch-alongs, the squad show, which we'll be having tonight, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. That's Mondays and Wednesdays, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, as well as the Everydayer Club, which is now live for Locked On Ravens, where you get some add-on stuff like exclusive access to a Discord server, weekly Q&As, one-on-one text conversations with me, ad-free episodes, and a lot more. Plus, right now there is a promo code where you can get a free month of the Everydayer Club, and that is free agency. So right now you can put that in, get a free month of the Everydayer Club. So if you're interested, be sure to do that, or check out the link in the description below or on the Locked On website on the Locked On Ravens page. Now, there's a lot of interesting conversation being had. There are a lot of moves that are happening right now, and one of them was at New England, the Patriots. They released Stefon Diggs. Now, Diggs signed a pretty decently sized contract with the Patriots last offseason. It was a 3-year, $63.5 million deal. They had the out after this season, and they did take it. Diggs had a resurgent season with the Patriots in 2025, and he was a guy that a lot of people were wondering, all right, is his career over? What is it going to be? Obviously with the injury, but he came back and put up 85 catches for 1,013 yards and 4 touchdowns. And so obviously there's the Maryland connection with him and all that. Baltimore does, in my opinion, need a veteran receiver. Diggs isn't like that big bodied guy. I mean, he's 6 foot, but plays a lot bigger than his size there. Diggs right now is 32 years old. He'll turn 33 during the season. For Diggs, I mean, again, I don't know how much he has left. There's obviously all the off-field stuff with him as well, which a lot of people are speculating. Is that the reason why the Patriots moved on? What is the reason for it? So there's a lot there. You know, I'm curious. I think, look, in an offense like Declan Doyle's, Stefon Diggs could probably thrive next to Zay Flowers and Rashod Bateman. I don't know the contract he'd be looking for. I don't even know the situation in terms of like what it will be for him next season, whether he'll be available or not. But I don't know. I probably wouldn't make this move. There's just a lot going on there. I honestly would rather have DeAndre Hopkins back if we're talking about vets. I just think, again, he has a year of chemistry in the offense. And there's just, again, like D-Hop, to me, there's just less going on there. And the talent with Stefon Diggs and DeAndre Hopkins, like, I get it. DeAndre Hopkins, people feel like, and DeAndre is not washed, by the way. I just saw a lot of those comments throughout the season. But at the same time, like, I would value that continuity with DeAndre over Stefon Diggs coming in and figuring it out. And I'm not saying Stefon Diggs couldn't figure it out, but I just really want to see DeAndre Hopkins in this offense for one more season and being utilized the correct way. Because with Stefon Diggs, he was utilized, right? That's why he had 85 catches. That's why he was a guy that in 2025 with Drake May, as he's trying to find his footing, Stefon Diggs had over 100 targets, right? I want to see that with DeAndre Hopkins. And I'm not saying like 100 targets or anything, but just more utilization there. I think that D-Hop can be really effective. And, you know, if they're going to go for a vet receiver, I would just rather bring back D-Hop. Like, and I just kind of let the Stefon Diggs thing play out as it may. If they do sign Stefon Diggs, I mean, there is a place for him in the offense and it could work. But to me, I'm probably going in a different direction. I think it would have made sense a couple of years ago, obviously not with Greg Roman, maybe like the Todd Monken offense, but even still, I'm sure that there probably would have been some issues with the targets he was getting at times. So I think this Declan Doyle offense opens things up for just receivers in general, which is why these are conversations that feel more realistic in terms of some bigger receivers coming to Baltimore. It feels like the Patriots might be gearing up for an A.J. Brown or an Alec Pierce, some of those big body wide receivers or just big name wide receivers in general. So I don't know. I would rather just have D-Hop back personally over Stefon Diggs, but you know, another option is on the board for the Ravens. So we will see how that unfolds. That's all I have for you today, though, on Locked On Ravens. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. On the web, be sure to like and subscribe button in video form and follow along and subscribe in audio form for 5 days a week plus more of daily Ravens coverage. Coming up, we'll have the squad show at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, and then we'll be back for our regularly scheduled programming on Thursday morning tomorrow. So be sure to stay tuned, and I'll see you right back here soon on Locked On Ravens.